Okay, so we got up to Motzi Matzah, and let's talk a little bit about Matzah Shmura. Okay, the pasuk says, "V'shemartem et hamatzot." You should watch the matzot. What does it mean? V'shemartem et hamatzot. You should watch matzot. What does that mean? Watch it. Watch. Just look at it. What should I do with it? So the Rambam says, "Kiloimer v'shemartem et hamatzot." Kiloimer hisharu b'matzah v'shamro to mikol tzad chamotz. Be careful of it so it shouldn't become chametz. So when it says v'shematim et matzot, the Rambam says that means make sure it doesn't become chametz. Rashi says when it says v'shematim et matzot, what it means is the shame mitzvah, the shame matzah shel mitzvah. So he brings both actually. Look at the Rashi. Kol shimer sha'atim mishamra sheloi tachmitz hitkaven l'shem matzah shel mitzvah. So Rashi wants you to do both. Make sure it doesn't become chametz, and to have kavana that it is for a mitzvah. Okay, so says the Mishnah Brura that the matzah that we eat on the first 2 nights, it needs to be matzot. They're required to be shmura matzah, what we call shmura matzah. Okay, and you should guard the matzot. You should martin the matzot. You're doing it for the sake of matzah. This is your shmura matzah that you're having. Now, the Rambam said you have to watch it, make sure it doesn't become chametz. At which point do you have to watch it? So Shulchan Aruch brings 3 different points in the process and when it should be watched, when it should be made sure it doesn't become chametz. So in source 55 and page 81, mitzvah. From the time that you harvest them. That is tov. That is the best to do. And at minimum, from the time of grinding. When you grind it to make it into flour. So that's the second time could be considered shmura, matzah shmura. So you have shmura matzah number 1 is when I harvested, I'm already watching it. Shmura matzah number 2 on the second level is when I grounded the wheat to make flour. And ushatat hak, and if there's nothing else, and I need to still have shmura matzah, muter ikach kemach ben hashuk. So then I can go and buy flour from the marketplace. I can buy flour from the store, and I'm watching it from the time that it needs, the time it makes it into a dough. So that's the 3 levels of shmura matzah. Okay, so lechatchila, your shmura matzah should be from sha'at ketzirah, from the time that you harvest the wheat, and you need to have shmura matzah for the Seder. That's it's pretty imperative. You have to have that, especially when it's available. How much shmura matzah do you have to have it the rest of Pesach? I have matzah. I know it's not chametz. Do I need shmura matzah from shak kitziram? Do I need that? So the Bir Halacha brings down from the Rambam that there's an opinion, right? There's an opinion that all the matzah one eats on Pesach must be shmura matzah, matzah shmura. All the matzah that you're going to eat should be that way. However, the Pnei Halacha says, although there are some, yesh medakta give l'achol chol Pesach matzah shmuros, and there's 2 reasons for this. Number 1, sheishoivrim, there are those who hold, even though there's no obligation to eat matzah, Pesach, nevertheless, one who does is fulfill the mitzvah. If you eat shmura matzah, you're having another mitzvah. Tama sheni. And the second reason, some hold that shmura matzah is due to the concern that it become chametz. So you want to make sure you're eating, like the Rambam said, you have to watch it so it doesn't become chametz. So you want to eat matzah, so you have to eat shmura matzah, then become chametz. In the end of the day, the way most people are knowing is that they're careful for shmura matzah the whole Pesach. The whole Pesach they eat matzah shmura matzah. That means it was watched preferably from harvest, not from harvest, at least from the grinding of the flour. What about machine matzah? Okay, there was a lot of controversy when the machine matzah came out. So some of us like our machine matzah. It's the best. And they're actually poskim, and even till today, there are certain Jewish communities that they'll use only machine matzah. They even make the seder on machine matzah. And then you have other Jewish communities that they're knowing that you don't bring the machine matzah in my house, right? They are completely against the machine matzah for multiple different reasons. Although a lot of those reasons don't really apply today because of the advancement of the machine matzah making. There used to be a problem with perhaps cleaning it, perhaps a problem with l'shem mitzvah, maybe the mechanical one that you have to do it analog versus digital and automatic. There's different opinions over there. Chabad says that really the mitzvah min ha-muchar is to take matzahs, especially for the first 2 nights, that are handmade. Avodas yad, right? You want to get handmade matzahs for the night of the Seder. For the rest of Pesach, it's also good to have handmade matzah, but machine matzah is 100% kosher if it has a reliable hashgacha on it, and it could be considered shmura matzah. It could be considered l'shem mitzvah. So it is matzah. In the end of the day, person can use it, preferably not for the Sedarim. For the Seder, you should use baked, handmade matzot. Okay, just to mention, because people like to mention about the soft matzot. So a soft matzot with the proper hashgacha is also very good to use for the Seder. Okay, turn to page 99, Amotai, and we continue the Simanim, and now we get into Morah. Okay, and the pasuk says, "V'achlu es abasar b'layla hazed tzli eish u'matzois al merorim yochluhu." Right, you should eat it roasted. Eat the carbon pesach roasted. You eat it with matzah and morah. So, omarava matzah b'zman hazed d'oraita u'morah d'rabanan. Nowadays, when we do the seder, when we eat the matzah, that's a d'oraita mitzvah on Pesach night. It's a biblical commandment, a biblical obligation. But maror is the rabbanan. Maror, eating the maror, is the rabbanan. Maishna maror dichtiv al matzot morim bizman dika pesach. Yesh maror bizman deleka pesach leka maror. Matzah naami haksiv al matzah sumroirim. So matzah mehadar hadar beikra be'erev tarchalu matzah. You have another pasuk about matzot that says be'erev, in the evening tarchalu matzot, you eat matzot. So since that pasuk is independent of the pasuk, the verse regarding the Korban Pesach, so we already saw the matzah is an independent mitzvah, not to have to be connected to Korban Pesach. However, maror is only one pasuk, the pasuk that says matzot omorim yochlu. So what's the din with maror? So it says the Rambam on page 100, achilat maror. Maror is completely connected to the Korban Pesach. Shemitzah saseh achas leechol basar Pesach al matzah moedim. With divrei soifrim leechol amor levad b'layl zeh efilu ein sham Korban Pesach. But the mitzvah, the rabbanan, is to eat maror regardless. I have a Korban Pesach, I don't have a Korban Pesach. We eat the maror. So we have, on the night of the Seder, you have Doraita Matzah, and you have the Rabbanan Mitzvot, such as the Maror. What is Maror in the end of the day? So, says the Gemara, mitzvah, the mitzvah of Maror is with Chazeret. It's with Chazeret. What is Chazeret? So chasa, my chasa. What's chasa? Chasa, the chasa chmona. It's what God had mercy on us. So chasa. What is chasa translated to? And at least for us, Aramaic, it is romaine lettuce. Romaine lettuce. So says the Shulchan Aruch. Eilu yirakosh yoytzim me'midei chavato. The ikar mitzvah b'chazeret, and the main mitzvah is with lettuce. And the Chazon Ish is not very happy with our romaine lettuce. The Chazon Ish says, now, what was the whole reason that they said lettuce? Because back in the old days, lettuce was taken from the ground at a later stage. The longer you leave romaine lettuce in the ground, the more bitter it gets. Today, they take out the romaine lettuce before it gets bitter. A lot of times it's still sweet, doesn't taste so bad. So the Chazon Ish says that therefore it's logical that it isn't included in the maror. It's not the maror. Because maror means bitter herbs. And it's not bitter. So he doesn't want you to eat this. The Chacham Tzvi, the who salat belaz, in their lashon, romaine lettuce was known as salat, which would be the basis of a salad. Okay, our lettuce of today. You can't use it until you make it bitter, meaning that you have to leave it into the ground until it becomes bitter. So the Chazon Ish is really not happy with our romaine lettuce. Now, if we read in the box, he writes some of the custom to use horseradish as mar, or to place a bit of horseradish together with the lettuce, which is they're both a min of mar, so that would work. But if I would try to put some other substance to make the lettuce bitter, you're not allowed to do that. That takes away the maror. If we use another mar with another mar, maybe that would work. So some people actually do that. However, most poskim say that you could use romaine lettuce, even if it's not bitter. Even if it's not bitter. What's the ideal? The Talmud Yerushalmi says, what's the whole special thing that the mitzvah should be done with romaine lettuce? Why romaine lettuce? Tchilata mitok. The beginning of romaine lettuce is sweet. Vesofa mar. And in the end, romaine lettuce becomes bitter. When you put romaine lettuce and it starts to grow, in the beginning it's very sweet. The longer you leave it in the ground, it becomes bitter. What's the connection to Pesach? That was us in Mitzrayim. When we got there, they gave us Goshen. They gave us our own town. They let you be in charge, right? You had all these things. And then, what happened? Slavery and all these other problems. So the Yerushalmi says, that's why you want to have chazer, that's why you want to have chaser, why you have romaine lettuce. Because it showed how the shibud happened. And the Shulchan Aruch Harav, okay, the Shulchan Aruch Harav says, even though lettuce doesn't have any bitterness to it the way we have it now, the fact is that if it stayed in the ground, it would become hard and become bitter. That's why it's called maror or mitzvah, and the mitzvah is to go after it and find it, even though it is sweet. So the Shulchan Aruch Harav already tells us you can use sweet romaine lettuce. The whole idea is you think about the romaine, that it starts off sweet and goes bitter. If you take a look in the box over here, the Chazon Ish says, I'll tell you a proof why it really has to taste bitter. It says, the Gemara says that when you put maror in the haroset, what do you have to do? You have to shake it off. Why? Because you want to taste the maror. So says the Chazon Ish, that's my proof. It has to be bitter. We don't let you leave it in the charoset too long. We don't let you put too much charoset on it because we want you to taste the bitterness of the maror. The charoset? Yeah, so when you do maror, you have to dip it in, right? And then you take it out and you shake it off. It's not supposed to be too much charoset on it. I know especially the ladies like to dip it in and a lot of charoset, they add more to it. No. By the sandwich, then maybe you can add a little more. But by maror, you dip it in, you shake it off. Every year I do it. Every year, same question from all the same people at the table. Why are you shaking it off? I like it more. I said, shaking it off. It's what's to do. I don't know. Probably you can eat as much as you want of it. But and that's the Chazon Ish's proof. He says, here, you got to shake it off so you taste the maror. So Rav Asher Weiss and his Minchas Asher says that it's not really a proof. He says it's not that you have to taste the bitterness. but you have to taste that which is called maror. You have to taste the vegetable. Happens to be, if it's bitter, you have to taste the bitterness. If it's maror, but it's not, it's romaine lettuce, as long as I can taste the actual romaine lettuce without being camouflaged and taken over by the charoset, then that's what that means. So no real proof from the Chazon Ish that it has to be really bitter. So those who go with the Chazon Ish would, need to get real horseradish, which eating it means if they eat it straight up, they have to eat a kazayit, because you have to have shem achila here, a kazayit of horseradish, which from experience, I can tell you, is almost impossible. It's very burny. And you can't pickle it, you can't do anything to it. And then it's no longer maror. So you have to eat it straight, and it's almost impossible. So like I said, some do, they eat the romaine lettuce, and they throw in a little bit of the horseradish. Again, that's not really our minhag. Our minhag was to always eat the romaine lettuce. Take a look at page 103. The Sefer Yereim. The tzara she'achol min hamar kezayit the achila ketiv be v'achila bekezayit. You have to eat a kezayit. Okay. Now the Gemara says Mara and tzarich heseva. Mara does not need heseva. Doesn't need leaning. We don't lean in it. Why? Says Rashi. Shehu zeicher le'avdos. It's a zeicher for the slavery, and we're not. The whole point of leaning is to show freedom. So if you're doing it the zeicher for the slavery, you don't lean. It says in Shulchan Aruch, source 13, Vayivarach al achilas maror ve'yichlenu b'lo yiseba. You say the bracha al achilat maror, and you don't lean. Shulchan Aruch continues. All right. So he takes a kazayit maror. Then he puts the entire thing into charoset, but you're not allowed to leave it on it. All right? You're not allowed to leave it inside. And therefore you have to shake the charoset off it. You have to taste maror. You have to taste the vegetable. So this is what you do. You put the maror inside the haroset all the way in, as it can go. Take it out, shake it off. That is your maror. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Why are we dipping it in? So the Gemara says one of the reasons is because the maror can have a poison. So putting it into haroset sort of takes away the poison. Some, he says, v'yesh mekomot she'en nohogin. There are some who are not to put it in entirely, just slightly. Because sometimes you can't dip the entire lettuce into the charoset. You don't have such a big charoset. So as long as you put some of it in, says the Mishnah Berurah. Do you make a bori priyadama on the maror? So we already made a bori priyadama at Karpas much earlier on. So you already had in mind for that. Let's say the guy said Borei Nefashot at that time. Right? He wasn't supposed to, but let's say he said it. Does he make another Borei Priyadama now? No. Why not? What will be the reason? What did I just have before Maror? I had the matzah. I already started Seudah. Is romaine lettuce part of a Seudah? Ken. So therefore, I would never make a Borei Priyadama on the Maror. So even if I didn't have karpas, I only had the maror, whatever, let's just make it up, right? Hypothetically, I would still not make a bracha on the maror. Why? Because I said matzah. The maror is part of the seudah, right? It's lettuce, part of the seudah, and therefore it's just on the maror and no borei priyadama on that. Okay.
How much of the lettuce is kazayit? Do you usually eat the stalk or you eat the leaves as well?
So we buy. My wife can check the lettuce, but lately we've been Baruch Hashem busy, so we buy the pre-checked lettuce. As such, you can eat both the leaves and the stalk. You just have to make sure it is a kazayit. We said a kazayit was how many grams? Then we said 27 grams is a kazayit. So you have to make
one whole thing is about 27 with the leaves.
I would check. You would check, yeah. Whatever it is, yeah. Again, they have different diagrams to show you stalk, leaf, I believe they say a leaf this size, or the size of this book, right? So a page like this. So a big leaf will be 27 grams, but you have to check it out. So before the Seder, with a digital scale, you can check, and get an example, and you have an example for the rest of the Seder, and you can use that as your example, your model lettuce, and you can get to a weight like that. Or you can check all of them. And on Chag, if on the Yom Tov, if you have a manual, a non-digital, and a manual scale, technically you can use that as well, but not recommended to be scaling out everything on the night. People need to do the Seder, and it's not the time to do that. So therefore, either you do your model or you prepare in advance.
And when you're a
Okay.
guest, it's more of a challenge,
If you
When
have
one is a
guests,
guest to somebody, so you don't know what they got, what the
right?
size is gonna
So
be, It's unpredictable.
you have to take another piece or two. You'll have to take another piece or two. That's what you have to do. I've had that. I've been places and they didn't give enough maror, so I said I need more. If you're a guest, they're going to give you what you want. We'll have to figure out the next day. We'll figure out the next day. But for now, we have to do maror. Okay. Now we come to the next siman. What is the next siman after maror? Korech. So we do korech. What's korech? It's the sandwich. Okay, so that's one of the proofs that they want to say why you should use the soft matzah. Because it says you took the matzah, maror, and what's so maror in the korban Pesach back in the day. Okay, you take the haroset and you make it into a sandwich and you eat it. What type of sandwich? Shawarma sandwich, right? A wrap. It's called a wrap. So that's why the soft matzah you can actually wrap it all together. You eat the hard matzah. It's a sandwich, but it's not a wrap. But regardless, this was, the Gemara says, was the minhag of Hillel. He says, the Pasuk says, "Amatzot u'morim yochlu," that means that you eat them together. Matzot u'maror. Even today, when matzah is by itself and maror is by itself, and according to the Gemara, the Rabbi Hill disagrees whether the matzah and maror were eaten together with the korban Pesach or separately. Hill holds they were to be eaten together. The Chachamim held they were not to be eaten together; they were eaten separately. Therefore, we first eat matzah and maror, like the Chachamim say, matzah, maror, everything separately, and then we do like Hillel, who said that we'd eat everything together, and that's what we do. Now, the says the Gemara, that's a machloket, Chachamim and Hillel. The Chachamim say they ate everything one by one because you want to taste each food separately. And if Hillel says no, the pasuk says you have to eat it all together. So therefore we do Zecher the Mikdash Hillel, right? Right, that's how we did it. We did it like the Chachamim. And now we do it like Hillel. More. Okay? Now we do like Hillel. Says the Gemara. Since we didn't say the halacha lo ki Hillel lo ki Rabbanan, mevarech al chil matzah ve'achil. V'had mevarech achil maro ve'achil. V'had achil matzah ve'chasab v'hadeh hadadi. Be'lo bracha zechel v'mikdash ki Hillel. So since the halacha was never set what should be, therefore we do both. That's what the Gemara says. Al achilat maror. Yeah. Al achilat maror. First maror, right? And this Aruch, we don't make any bracha. So says the Shulchan Aruch, after we take the third matzah, so you had this, remember we put down the third matzah, right? We made hamotzi lechem min haaretz on all three matzot, 2.5, right? Then we put down the bottom one. We make al achilat matzah. We ate the matzah now, right? Then we did the maror. What do you do with this third one that's what we put down? This is used to make the sandwich. Okay? He takes the sandwich with maror, he dips it into haroset. So you take the matzah, the maror, you dip it into haroset, and we say zechel l'mikdash ki Hillel. And one eats them together while reclining. Okay? From the time that one recites the bracha, aval chilat matzah, one must not interrupt with any matter that is not related to the meal until he eats the sandwich. In order that the bracha aval chilat matzah and the bracha aval chilat maror apply to the sandwich as well. So it's all one big thing. From al chilat matzah until Korach, it's one big continuation. You shouldn't be talking or doing anything else at that time, but rather focusing on this. So we have two, in the end, they have two kizetim of maror that you have to have on the Seder night. One for maror and one in the sandwich. Okay? That's the maror and korach. Okay, next comes what? What comes after the sandwich? Everyone's favorite place, shulchan aruch. So your food, your meal. So let me just, before we eat the halakha, let me just give you a tip. Number one, after eating all that masa, right, in the maror, and with the time frame that you have, and the fact that you have to eat the afikoman, right, with still being hungry, right, or still having, you want to eat, don't make too much for the night of Pesach. Some people, they take out, and it's late. Then you're going to be running to this man. You have to get and by the time you finish eating, you don't want to eat anymore, you don't want to drink anymore. It's not seichelig. Person should make it, and it's going to be easier on the wife too, on the woman. You don't have to make so much. 2, 3. You don't need all these things like a Shabbat. I'm being practical. I can't. I already ate. You try to eat tuk zetim on achilat matzah, right? Let's say you ate tuk zetim. Okay, you ate one kazayit. Let's say, you ate one. Okay, then you ate another kazayit matzah by the korach. You ate tuk zetim of maror already. You need to eat another kazayit of avikomat, and some say to eat 2 kzetim. So you're eating 5 kzetim of matzah. You have to eat it with hunger. You have to. How much can you eat during the Shabbat? How much can you eat already? I know they do. They say, well, it's not good then. And then they say, the korban chagiga, so you start with the egg, and then you have the fish, and then you have the meat, and you have the 1,000 dips. Well, when are you going to eat? And then you see the chatzot coming already. So you have to have a seichel. You have to. Tomorrow morning you'll have everything. I feel bad. A lot of times they would make food and then bring it out, and I say, send it back. What can I do? Big deal. They make a schedule right now. Who's picking what? Okay, says the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah. Makom shenagol lechol tzliva lepaschim ochlin. Makom shenagol shaloi lechol ein ochlin. Certain places they have a minhag that they eat roast on the night of Pesach, and other places have a minhag not to eat roasted meat or chicken on the night of Pesach. Or minhag is not to eat it. We also don't eat roasted meat or roasted chicken on the night of Pesach. Fish you can grill, not a problem. Okay, it's fish and it's chicken and meat. That's the issue. Shulchan Aruch says same thing. Because someone might say, "Oh, how they make the korban Pesach was shashlik. It was, roast. It was, and maybe they'll get confused. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to say Shema Yomru Basar Pesachu. Assess the Chazon Evadi in source 23. But Sudas Hayom Shel Pesach Mutter LeOchel Af MiBasar Hazar Shehu Tzili. You're allowed to even eat the Israel that's on the car. You're allowed to eat it during the day. Shlech Shoshu Elu B'Leil Pesach. We're only worried about the night. Shehu's manachilas korban Pesach. Masha'ain came by Yom Chag Pesach. There's no worry about it during the day. I know you asked many times, can I make the barbecue during Pesach day? I don't see why not. Because first of all, the korban Pesach was brought the day before the Chag. The only issue is the nighttime that I might think I'm eating the actual korban Pesach. During the day, you don't make korban Pesach anymore. That's it. Korban Pesach is brought the day before the Chag HaMatzot. So I don't see an issue of being it. The only issue is eating it. The only issue is eating in makom, in places that they don't eat roast at night. That's the issue, eating the roast at night. Okay. What's considered roast for those of us who hold that you can't eat sli? Says the Mishnah that's even pot roast. Okay, it's roasted in a pot without water, but cooks in its own juices. It looks dry heat. It looks like it's dry heat. It looks like it was roasting. And therefore, that you should also stay away from. And says Mishnah, even if it was originally cooked in water, and then you just got rid of the water and you make it look like it's a dry roast, also not good. So you want it should look like it's not roasted. That's what it needs to look like. So Kol Khan is fine. You make it in the pot with liquid. But steaks and shmekes like this, just stay away from it. Anything that looks roasted, you have to stay away from.
Unless they put like gravy on the steak, so it should be
It has
fine
to be
then.
cooked with the gravy, right? It has to be cooked with a liquid.
Right, and broiling and baking as well looks like roasting,
Yeah,
according to
yeah,
source.
yeah. Um, right. I always tell them to go easy. Make something that's simple. Have a fish, and then you get. And they usually do anyway. They do the what's it called? The soup matzah. Joshak. Everyone loves that. It's beautiful. Tastes great. By the time I finish my soup, I don't want anything anymore. That's usually even on Shabbat. I eat soup and I'm done. I can't eat anymore. So that's it. Fish, egg, fish, soup. You're good. That's it. You want to bring another korban or something like that? Fine. I don't know. People make plov Seder night. I don't think so. People eat plov before Erev Pesach. They make bach Seder night. No? Okay. I never seen any of these things. Yachni. Delicacies. Okay. Okay. Says the Rama. No, you want to eat eggs, zecher, as the Rama says, it's zecher la'avelos. And he says, why? Eggs we know is an oval's food, it's round. And he says, venerally, hatam mishum shalel Tisha B'Av is always the same night as Pesach. So the Rama says, eat an egg on the night of Pesach because it's related to the Churban. Now, most people, when they pick up the egg, what do they say? So what is the Rama saying over here about Avelis? So the Meister of the Vilna Gaon says, I don't know what he's talking about over here. You cannot have Avelis on Pesach. It's a Chag. Even if someone is sitting Shiva, the Chag stops it. Right? So how do you have this? Rak hatam shu zecher lechagiga kitzli ein lachol b'Pesach rak basar zecher lePesach beitza zecher lechagiga. So meat would be zecher current Pesach, and the beitza is zecher chagiga, and that's what people do. And look at the Ramah Rabotai. Look at the Ramah, source 27. And one should not eat or drink much. You shouldn't eat too much. Yaitimirdai, more than necessary, right? So this way you can come to Afikomen. And you don't want to have Afikomen al Chilas Gasa. Or he should get drunk and fall asleep. Right? You gotta your meal, it has to be moderated. Right? Don't go all out. Don't drink this. Don't drink that. They have all these liquors and tequilas that are, kosher Pesach. Beautiful. You have the daytime meals for it. You have the meal on Shabbat for it. Say the night, not the night to go all crazy on the drinks, not the night to go all out on the food. You eat nice, but you don't go nuts on it. Okay, that's what the Ramah says. Yeah, you can have as much wine as you want, but again, with wisdom, because you're gonna have to drink 2 more cups. So you want to pace yourself, so to speak, and make sure you're able to do everything. Okay. The Mishnah said, "Ein mafterin achar Pesach afikoman." After the Pesach, you don't do afikoman. Okay, what does that mean? Carbon Pesach, no afikoman. But it says, "Ein mafterin achar Pesach afikoman." So says Merechai means dessert. Mafikoman. Going tomorrow. Right, it's like dates and other types of sweet things, and that's what it means. Hey, maftin achar Pesach, afikoman. You shouldn't eat sweet things. Now we say afikoman, we mean the matzah that we're going to eat. Right? You want to have the taste of the matzah. You really wanted to taste the current Pesach. We didn't have current Pesach, so we throw in matzah instead. So you want the taste of the matzah. Therefore, you don't eat desserts. You don't eat desserts after eating that afikoman matzah. Okay, that's all another thing, by the way. In front, after they bring you out the 3 meals, right? During the Shulchan Aruch, they bring you out so much food. You think you finished. Now they bring you desserts. So you have to have desserts now because you can't have it later. So you eat all the desserts. What about the afikoman? Okay, so you got to pay attention here. Now, It says in the box over here on page 109, the prohibition of eating following Korban Pesach is still relevant today. Even though we don't offer a Korban Pesach, we eat matzah instead of the Korban Pesach. The matzah we call today's afikoman. Therefore, one may not eat anything afterwards that will remove the taste. Now, how much you have to eat? How much you have to eat of the afikoman? Kazayit or 2 kazayit? So good. It's machlokes. So the Rishonim dispute which kazayit. Okay, so now there's another machlok in here he brings. Machlok is when we said al chilat matzah, and which matzah are we talking about? The matzah we ate right first, or the matzah that we're eating at the afikoman? Shirashi holds the obligation refers to the matzah used for the afikoman. Nevertheless, we still recite the bracha of achilat matzah during motzi matzah. So Rashi is saying the al achilat matzah that we say early is really on the afikoman. That's the actual matzah that we're talking about. Other Rishonim, such as the Rashbam and the Kolboy, agree with Rashi, but the Rosh and the Rambam hold the al achilat matzah is the first matzah. Because if the afikoman was the chiyuv where you have say al achilat matzah, it should have been eaten with maror and charoset. Therefore, they explain that eating afikoman matzah is just a zecher lekorban pesach. All right, so that's the way the Rosh and the Ramban learned the sugya. A third approach of the afikoman is offered by Tosfot and the Ritva. They hold, Chamim said, you have to eat the afikoman in order to taste the matzah, that it remains in your mouth. Similar to the halacha concerning the korban pesach. So Tosfot and Ritva says, like we've always been saying, that you want to have that matzah in your mouth because it's zeichel the korban pesach, zeichel the matzah. The matzah is using that instead. So therefore, that should be the last thing that you eat. So look at source on page 111, the box over there. The 3 opinions regarding the reason for eating the afikoman. Why am I eating the afikoman? Rashi, Rashbam, I'm eating the matzah because that is the afikoman matzah because that is be'erev techul matzot. That's the fulfilling that commandment. The al chilat matzah in the beginning, that was just to make the bracha. But that's the actual matzah. Ramban and Rosh is that it's a zecher the korban pesach. And the Tosafot and Ritva, that afikoman is simply a means to retain the flavor of matzah in one's mouth. So look at the source 6 and the footnote 6. If you learn like Rashi that that's the achilat matzah, then you have to recline because that's the kazai the matzah you have to do his seva for. The Rambam holds that reclining is not necessary. We recline during the afikoman, but the Rambam holds that it's not necessary. Regarding the issue, Shulchan Aruch rules that reclining is necessary, right? Like we do, we all recline during afikoman. That's what we do. Another pacification is whether one may speak unnecessary words from the time of motzi matzah until the eating of the afikoman. According to Rashi, when you say alechat matzah, that's meaning the afikoman matzah. That means really I shouldn't be talking until I eat the afikoman. In fact, the Shalom brings that. The Shalom brings that. Shulchan Aruch doesn't seem to say that. And according to Rashi, again, you would have to have in mind achilat matzah about the matzah and the afikoman. So that does play out. All right, how much afikoman to eat? How much afikoman to eat? So in source 32, we have the Bach. He says one needs to eat 2 kizayit of matzah because maybe it is zeichel the korban pesach, or maybe it's zeichel the korban pesach im hamatzah that they ate with the korban pesach. When they ate the korban pesach, they ate matzah with it. So zeichel the korban pesach im hamatzah. So I have to eat 2 gzeitim, according to the Bach. The Mara also writes that you need to have 2. The Shulchan Aruch rules that you only have to have 1 kazayit for the afikoman. Right. So if I have to eat a b'shem achila, I have to eat a kazayit, right? Anything that's a shem achila needs to have a kazayit. So this is a mitzvah of afikoman. So you have to have at least a kazai. The Bach says you have to have two kazaitim. Why? Because when I eat korban Pesach, what did I eat it with? I ate it with matzah. So when I'm eating the matzah, one is for zecher korban Pesach, and the other kazait is zecher the matzah that was eaten with the korban Pesach. So you need to have two. Shulchan Aruch in the end says you only need one. Says the Shulchan Aruch in source 33 on page 112. Lacha Gemar Kol Asuda. Oichle mimatzah shmura tachat amapa kazayit kol echad zecher lepesach hanechel hasova. We eat the zecher lepesach, but we ate when we were already satiated. Says the Mishnah B'Rav L'chitchila tov sheyikach shnei zeitim echad zecher pesach ve'echad zecher lamatzah hanechelet imo. And the other one is to have the second. Tov l'chitchila says the Mishnah B'Rav is to have two. Shulchan Aruch says one. How are we going to say you need only one? If anyone who wants to be more machmer, wants to do it better, he should, if possible, he or she should eat two gzetim. You don't have to, especially if it's hard for you to eat the matzah, or already they filled you up during the Shulchan Aruch with so much food that two gzetim is achilat gatzah, right? Then one would be fitting. When do you have to eat the afikoman by? Okay, so there is a machloket exactly when it says chipazon in the Torah. What does that mean? Who's chipazon? Is it the chipazon that means quickly? Is it the chipazon of the Mitzrayim that happened at the night, right? When the Makot Becholot was happening and they were going fast trying to get Moshe out? Or is it the chipazon of the Jews when they left the next day? They hastily left fast during the day. So take a look at Rashi. Chipazon de Mitzrayim, Makot Bechorim, Shayadam nechvazu l'meher l'shalecham. They wanted to send us away. Chipazon de Yisrael, lo shema'u lahem letzet al boker. So now, according to the Gemara, both Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva agree that the korban Pesach must be eaten during the time of Chipazon. You have to eat the korban Pesach during the Chipazon time. When is the Chipazon time? According to one, that means Chatzot. According to the other, it means Boker. So what's the halacha? Oh, it's one or the other. So the Rishonim dispute. Tosefot and the Mordechai say, like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that the korban Pesach must be eaten by midnight. But the Rambam goes like Rabbi Akiva and said you have until the morning. Shulchan Aruch says, Yezahir lecho kodem hatzot. You should be careful to eat it before hatzot. Okay, so what's hatzot today? 12:59. So about 1 o'clock in the morning. It's plenty of time. Says the Yakut Yosef Moadim, source 38. You're also Yotzei Chova, even if you ate the afikoman after Hatzot. You should plan to eat it before Hatzot. I got a question. There's a Bukharian guy who married a Hasidic girl. It happens. So it's actually my cousin. Okay, so he calls me. He tells me I'm going to my father-in-law for a Pesach Seder. And he told me we're eating the afikoman after Hatzot. So what should I do? Should I make my own afikoman? This, that way, you know? I said, what does it say? What does it say? I said, in his house, you're not in charge. He's making this Su'udah. And even though the Chetchila, you should try to eat before Hatzot, but halacha is it does work after Hatzot too. I don't see I personally don't like when people are sitting together at a table and everyone's making their own seder. He's making his seder, he's making his seder, he's making his own seder. Then sit by yourselves. If you're sitting together, there has to be one seder. And you'll have to give in. You'll have to give in to that. You want to tell your father-in-law that, for me, maybe try to make it before Hatzot, fine. You try and make something beforehand. But if it's going to happen after Hatzot, no need to make craziness. Yotzei Yedei Chova. Okay. Now, after the afikoman, we know that after you have the taste of the matzah, we don't want to taste anything else. But let's say I want to drink something. All right, so can I drink? Says Shulchan Aruch, achar abar kosot, eno shayla shtot yain, ela mayim. So after the seder is done, you allowed to drink the 2 cups of wine because you still have to drink those 2 cups of wine. But after that, no more wine, just mayim. And the Ramah says all other drinks, v'chol mashkin, dinan keyain. All other drinks is considered wine, so you can't drink anything else. Pesach Chuvot says coffee v'teh bli sukar, coffee or tea without sugar. Omayim mutter af lechatchila. Right? But if you put sugar in the coffee or tea, then you can't drink it. The coffee and tea is okay without sugar. And he says it goes until ad alot hashahar that you can't drink these things. The Akut Yosef is more lenient. He says, water you can drink. You can't drink any other wines except the 2 for the kosot. But v'hayoyshev v'oisik b'hilchos Pesach u'v'sipri tzias mitzayim acher ha'alel v'chos revi'id rashai l'shtot kafe oteh v'afilu im sukar. If I'm going to be staying up and learning halachot Pesach and learning the story of Mitzrayim, he gives you permission to drink coffee with sugar or tea with sugar. You get permission to do that. But if not for this reason, you don't have reason to be lenient. But after chatzot, you're allowed to be more lenient. Why? Because the same discussion. When is the chiyuv of afikoman till? Right? When after the afikoman? Till chatzot, according to some opinions, right? And we try to do that. So the whole din of not tasting anything afterwards is when I could possibly eat the afikoman. Once I can only possibly eat the afikoman, then technically I have no more problem. But if you say the afikoman could be eaten ad aboker, I still have to remain with the taste of the afikoman during that whole time. So the Pesach Chuvot says that goes ad shahar, and Yaakov says after chatzot you have what to be more makel on. But he doesn't say that you should do it. But he says if you need to, some sort of tzarech. But before that, for chatzot, if I finish the seudah and I finish the seder and I have time, if I'm learning something, I'm allowed to eat. I'm allowed to drink something even with sugar, a tea with sugar. Okay.
Water tea is allowed then.
Yeah.
After chatzot.
I would say, Agav, I would say, don't drink tea with sugar. You have to learn to drink tea without sugar. Rabbi Stefanski, one of his shiurim said that he used to get up very early. And he started having his coffee with milk and sugar. And then he started thinking about it. Every morning when I have, and every afternoon when I have a coffee, and every time I put milk and sugar, how much fats and how much sugars are going into my body. So he made it his rule, and this is what I heard from him. I don't know what he's doing today, but this is what I heard from him. He said that he made a rule, he drinks it straight. So he's not adding any fats and he's not adding any sugars. It's something to think about. Every time you take sugars, every time you take fats, it's something to the body. It's not just simple. I know a lot of you guys are very young here, so you don't feel it yet, but eventually you will get older and you will feel it. Okay. Now you get up to what comes after the Afikoman. What comes after it? Tzafun. What comes after it? Barech. You have Barech. What's Barech? We say Birkat Hamazon. So Shulchan Aruch says there's a mitzvah to make sure you have a zimun. Okay, the mitzvah for zimun is for Birkat Hamazon. Also says the Mishnah Berurah, you also want to have a zimun also for Hallel that comes after Barech. You want to do Hallel with 3 people. So what the Mishnah Berurah says, the minimum of 3. Okay. Just by the way, just for Agav with the Hilchot Zimun, people should know everybody's sitting at the Seudah when you're making a Zimun. Everybody should be there. Men, women, and children from Chinuch already should be sitting there and should be answering Zimun. I don't know why people tend to think it's optional. I don't have to say I don't have to be there. Everyone has to be there. I told you a million times. Igros Moshe says that if the lady is in the kitchen and everybody's waiting for the zimun, they have to wait for her to come back. That's what Moshe says. I don't know if you have to do the halacha, you have to really wait for that. But at the end of the day, everyone's sitting, everyone's making zimun. Everybody has to say. The woman should say it quietly if they're outside from the family there, but everyone needs to answer the zimun. So you want to make sure to make zimun for barech. You should have the requisite number of people. Now, we make Birkat Hamazon over a cup of wine. Now, usually we only make Birkat Hamazon over a cup of wine when we're doing Zimun and it's a Shabbat Yom Tov. We don't usually do it during the week. But on the Seder, you say usually during the week we don't do on Kosher Bracha during Birkat Hamazon. We don't. We usually only Shabbat Yom Tov. Open up the Al-Qudsher said that's what he says. It's the minhag is the minhag is we don't do it during the week anymore. They're doing so. What? So they're doing. So they're doing. It's not mechalav, but that's what they're doing. You're telling you how to be noyeg. We don't do it during. All right. Mishabra writes that the custom is to lenient unless wine is readily available, such as Shabbat Yom Tov, which in case is to deal. It's ideal to do over a cup of wine. Everyone say the night. There's an obligation to recite Birkat Hamazon over a cup of wine. Each individual recites the Birkat Hamazon over his own cup of wine and drinks it. And it's the third of the 4 cups. And the basis for this practice is from a Tosefot that he says, Tuna kos. It needs a kos with 3 people making zimun. They said, Afilu beyachid kos Birkat Hamazon. So, on Pesach night, even if you're sitting alone, you're making Birkat Hamazon on a cup of wine. So Chanarach says they pour them in the 3rd cup. He recites Birkat Hamazon. Borei Priya Gefen. Mishnah Berurah explains is that to use each of the 4 cups for a different mitzvah, right? So you have 4 cups they're going to have to drink. You don't just drink them 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to make a mitzvah with each one of them. So therefore, the 3rd cup you do the mitzvah of Birkat Hamazon. Okay, very important. He just puts it out over here. Yaleh v'yavo. The mitzvah of eating on the night of Pesach is a d'oraita. So therefore, if you forgot Yaleh v'yavo, you would have to go back and say Birkat Hamazon. Therefore, do not forget and make sure to say Hamazon. The same halacha will be for the woman. Now, Hallel. We have a few minutes. I'm gonna try to wrap this up. Okay, we're almost done. Actually, 30 pages. Okay, so Hallel. We have a minhag to say Hallel on the night of the Seder. We have another minhag also. By the Sfaradim, we say Hallel at night in the shul before we go home to make the Seder. We say it with a beracha. That's the only time we say Hallel at night. Say on Seder night. Now, for the ladies, important to teach the ladies this, is that during the whole year, when we say the bracha for Hallel, when we say, we don't say it all the time, right? We don't say it, but when we do say, they're not allowed to say bracha on the Hallel. The only exception is Pesach by night. And it's brought down in halacha that you should instruct them that before the men come home, the woman should take out the machzor and should say the bracha on the Hallel and read the Hallel at night before the Seder. Before the Seder. Okay? So instead of reading the Ami magazine and all the other magazines that are out there and all the other stuff, then the Thank You Hashem new ones also. What? When we're going to be in shul, that same time. So they can say, yeah, they're ready to lit the candles, they already can do it. Ready to lit the candles, they can do it. They say the bracha, the whole Hallel. Okay? And then when we come back, we're going to say Hallel again in the Seder, and that covers that. Okay? Because we do it before. Same reason. We don't make bracha in the Seder. We don't make the bracha during the Seder.
They don't say.
Right, because it's a Mishras Man Groma. Hallel that we usually say, it's a Mishras Man Groma. And they're part of firms, they don't make a bracha on a Mishras Man Groma. Like Lulav, like Shofar, for Sfaradim, we don't make a bracha for the woman. This one, Afhem Benes. They're also in the Nes of, and they're chiv in the abrikosot, they're chiv in eating the matzah, they're chiv in everything, they're chiv in everything. As such, they have a chiyuv of halal as well. Since they have a chiyuv of halal as well, so now they can say the bracha on it. Okay, so that's the only night. It's the only time they can say the bracha on halal, according to the Chamavadia. Obviously, there are other opinions that say they could say a bracha on mitzvah grama, but we're not dealing with those opinions at this night. Okay, we have here about halal. Why do we say it at night? Says the Khatam Sofer. The reason why we say halal at night on Pesach, shehi sha'at hanes mamash, is the time of the actual nis when we're doing the Seder at nighttime. So therefore, that's why we say halal at the night. Usually halal is a day mitzvah, right, from the morning until Shkia. But on the night of Pesach, that is the actual nis. That's when we're going to do the halal. The Ran says we don't say the bracha on the halal because we recite it as someone reads. We don't recite it as someone reads, or rather as one singing a song. So the reason why they don't say a bracha on the halal and the Seder, right, is because they are singing it and not reading it, so to speak. Anu karin oto b'torat karin el b'torat omer shira. L'maisa, we Sfaradim do say a bracha on the halal in the shul. Ashkenazim, they do not. Okay, those who daven Nusach Ashkenaz usually do not say the bracha on halal in shul on the night of Pesach. They finish the night like every other Yom Tov, and that's it. Those who are of the Hasidic persuasion, they do that. There are some Nusach Ashkenaz also do that, but the majority of them do not. So most young Israels who daven Nusach Ashkenaz and stuff like that are not going to be saying halal on the nights of Pesach because that's not their minhag. They'll say it in the Seder. They're not going to say it in the shul with the bracha. In the Seder, they're going to say it, but and split it up like we do it, right? Magid and halal. But to make the bracha on it, not everybody does. Okay, was this a later invention by the Sfaradim, by the Mekubalim? Probably. That's why Nusach Ashkenaz does not have it. But when it was brought to certain Ashkenaz communities, they really loved the idea of saying halal at night with the bracha. And some of them took it on. Those are the Hasidic persuasion were the ones who did that. Okay, and we finally come to Nirtza. So Nirtza, I don't know why all the kids Haggadahs, they seem to take a picture of the kid falling asleep at the table. I guess it's a good thing, right? So they're staying there, and they sing songs, and we say Selcected Pesach. We finish the Pesach Kihil Chosoi, everything like the halacha, and we stay up. We say Shira Shirim, the Shana Haba Yerushalayim, and a person should really stay up and continue in the talking of Yitzias Mitzrayim, Sipri Yitzias Mitzrayim, learning Hilchot Pesach, learning Mishnayot Psachim, until sleep overtakes him. Okay, until sleep overtakes him. So usually most of us are ready to go to sleep as soon as the Seder is over. But I'll tell you my own thing, I don't go to sleep right away. Why is that? Because it's not healthy to eat and lay down right away. You just did afikoman, you ate a lot of matzah, you ate everything, you drank 2 cups. It is very not healthy to go and lay down. You should actually sit up, right? Medically speaking, you should sit up for about an hour. About an hour. Okay? You want to sleep, you want to sit up a half hour? A half hour is people get acid, the heartburn because of that. When you eat and lay down, your body is still digesting all that food and all the acid is in there. So you lay down, all that acid comes up, and then you're not going to feel so well. Your body needs time to digest and get everything down. So therefore, you don't lay down right away. So if you're really tired and you want to relax, what you could do is prop yourself up on the couch. Okay? Yeah, you have a nice couch. Prop yourself up with pillows. Lay down into the couch, but laying, right? Sitting and laying down. Take out your sefer and read until you fall asleep. And then you become the halacha. You stayed up until sleep overtook you, and then you go to your bed when you're ready. But that is good advice generally. Good advice generally. I'll just end up with one other piece of advice. I don't know if you do it on the Seder night, but on Shabbat nights and stuff like that, Shabbat days, after eating the meal, it is also very, 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 very healthy to take a walk. Okay? to take a walk around the block, take a walk through this way, through that way. It helps with the digestion. All right. It helps with the body's digestion. It helps with preventing heartburn and other things like that. And this is the way a person can have Oneg Shabbat as well. He goes on a walk with his wife and he goes around the block. They talk a little bit. They have the time of Oneg. They have the time of spending and enjoying Shabbat, Yom Tov. It is a very, very good thing. It's healthy as well. And a person will have the benefit of both worlds. So we finished the halachot for the night of the Seder, but you are not done yet preparing. Like we spoke about on Shabbat, you have a lot more to look into, a lot more to prepare, stories, ideas, games, I don't know, whatever you have to do to keep the kids entertained and alive and participating in the Seder. So, b'hatzlacha l'kulam, Zat Hashem, we should be zocheh to the Gula Shalema. Asher koyach. Zag very much.
Baruch Hak Sameach.
Kosher v'sameach.